Hi, everyone. So glad you're there. The Brian Kilmeade Show, moving through a very, very busy week. Griff Jenkins joins me at the bottom of the hour, fresh off and getting ready to go on Fox and Friends weekend, fresh off Fox and Friends. And we have Doron Spielman coming up in a matter of moments. He's the IDF spokesperson. He's coming to us from Israel, former vice president, former vice president of the city of David, and author of When the Stones Speak. It's a really great book. And, of course, we're going to be covering all the breaking news, including the new inflation numbers are in. And I think that's really going to be affecting the markets, which are going to be, they're already up. So I guess they're predicting a number in which the number gets closer to 2 than 3. So let's get to the big 3.
Number 3.
He knows a good deal when he sees one. I can't for the life of me think that we would ever put anything together that didn't fundamentally change Iran's behavior in the region. The
great Jack Keane on with me on Fox and Friends 90 minutes ago, talking about another aircraft carrier going into the Persian Gulf, getting ready for Iran should the talks fall apart. And ladies and gentlemen, I agree with General Keane. They're not going to make progress, and they can never be trusted. We're going to be going at it with Iran soon.
Number 2.
Under the process just completed by the EPA, we are officially terminating the so-called endangerment finding, a disastrous Obama-era policy that severely damaged the American auto industry.
And that is the President of the United States. I cannot overstate what the President has done, rolling back these environmental, alarmist, green policies since 2009 that have been hamstringing our economy. It's all been reversed as the EPA is okay as they unwind the unfounded environmental regulations hamstringing our energy and economy. This is revolutionary. You know why I know it's good? Al Gore's mad.
Number 1.
But even though we're drawing down resources, we still want to have hundreds of special agents here. This is ending the surge, but we're not going away. And let me say this, over 800 flights a day land in St. Paul, Minnesota. If we need to come back, we'll come back.
Homan pulling out in Minnesota. Guess what? 4,000 arrested. 3,000 plus unaccompanied minors rounded up. Kids that they weren't even looking for, he found. The truth is, Homan worked with the local government, mayor and governor, and 74 sheriffs to take down the temperature and get cooperation to let ICE do their job. In turn, he said, I'd pull out as soon as we could. So they were successful in Memphis. They were successful in New Orleans, successful in Washington, D.C., successful in Chicago, and eventually successful in Minneapolis. But if you're a Democrat, you could take note and just say, hey, we got to win. Got Tom Homan in, you got Greg Bavino out, Kristi Noem takes a back seat. You're able to de-escalate, which is indeed has happened. And you're able to get from 3,000, then you got 2,300, and then the president and Tom Homan decide it's okay to pull everybody out. And that'll be done in a matter of days. Sadly, there's still 1,600 plus criminals, illegal immigrant criminals who are facing deportation still in Minneapolis. But that's how they want to live. One of the most consequential things happening overseas, as usual, is happening in the Middle East. First off, the rebuild of Gaza can at least get to that phase. The problem is Hamas has not disarmed, and I don't think they plan to, despite the Board of Peace convening and looking to move forward. But they have made progress. Doron Spielman joins us right now. Doron, thanks so. Oh, I'm sorry. He's going to join us in 15 minutes. My bad. So when we talk about what's happening over there, I'll get into that in detail. But just figuring out what Tom Homan did yesterday, I couldn't cut. We maybe played 3 sound bites, but it was happening during the first hour of our show. Tom Homan brilliantly knew the networks would take his presser. So he didn't start and say, hey, I'm pulling out. What he said is, I just want to give you an idea of what we accomplished. I give you an idea what's happened since I got here and what happened before I got here. And he ran through it. Cut 1.
And let me be clear. Mass deportations will continue, and we're not rolling back. President Trump promised mass deportations, and that's exactly what American people are going to get. We're going to enforce immigration law without apology. If you're in this country illegally, we're coming for you. But what they're doing is putting politics ahead of the safety and security of this nation, and it's pathetic and it's sick.
And what they're saying is, so Tom Homan's made it clear, the mayor and governor are working with me, and they got cooperation from the local police. But instead of the governor coming out and saying, well, it was great working with Tom Homan. You know, it was great 2 weeks ago to get the call from the president, mayor saying something similar. and we could be walking back. Instead, we have this clown as governor, Waltz, saying that the federal government caused so much damage, I want money. This guy is in the middle of a massive fraud investigation, which is either complicit or ran right over him while it was happening during and before and during his tenure. It might be happening now, where millions, if not billions of dollars left our country thanks to his corrupt population, mostly Somali, 80 of which have been jailed. And money is left and gone in Somalia. Now he wants more money. Go to Somalia and pick up the money there and see if that could pay a few of your bills. And all that damage is because of you. Because they weren't knocking down street signs. They weren't causing corruption. They weren't stopping people from getting to work that hurt the local economy and damaged property. That was you. Because you told your whole population to get your camera and record everything. And you never condemned the violence, which we saw everywhere, including breaking into a car of an FBI, stealing their guns and their paperwork, biting the finger off one of the agents. You know, Todd Lyons was on Capitol Hill. That was televised on C-SPAN, where he made it clear what exactly they've been able to accomplish. Cut 6.
What percentage of folks that actually have a detainer put on them nationwide or that are in removal processes have a final order of removal? Does anyone know that number, that percentage?
No, sir, not the percentage. I can give you what we're tracking right now is about 1.6 million final orders in the United States, with approximately 800,000 of those having criminal convictions.
So he's kicked out 630,000 are gone. 1.2 million have self-deported, and now they're looking for 800,000 who have criminal convictions, and they're seeking 1.6 million who were told to leave and aren't. Instead, the mayor of New York City is meeting and going to eventually meet, but has already had phone calls with Mayor Fry, who's bragging that they forced out ICE. Instead of saying, look, they got out, they did some good things, there's some things we disagree with. That's what a responsible politician does. And they say the more local it gets, the less it matters about party. Not in that horrible city. Do you know anybody that's going to move to Minneapolis by choice? Here's Mayor Mamdani talking about the upcoming meeting with Mayor Fry and what he plans on doing when ICE comes to town. Cut 7.
I look forward to getting to know him and also to speaking about the importance of protecting each one of our residents, including the immigrants who call both of our cities home. I am proud of our sanctuary city policies that we have. I believe that our values and our laws are not bargaining chips. They are not things for us to be ashamed of. And they are also policies that have sought and delivered on keeping New Yorkers safe over many years. I'll let the mayor of Minneapolis speak to the policies there.
So it worries me that some people are going to get the wrong message here when you know, ICE has got to go to Boston because that's where the illegals go. That's where the criminals go because it's a sanctuary city. Sanctuary states, sanctuary cities attract. That's what we saw. You want to be a sanctuary city? The governor of Texas, governor of Florida said, yeah, take these people. Governor of Arizona, take these people. Go ahead. And they sent them there. And what happened? They overwhelmed their airport, overwhelmed their streets, overwhelmed the hotels. And here in New York City, we saw it everywhere. Throwing out the free food they were getting, destroying the free hotels they were staying in, causing havoc everywhere, taking over turf fields as they set up big tent cities. That chaos is from the sanctuary status that these people welcomed. So all these bad decisions, I worry that people are getting the wrong message. Now, did ICE get too aggressive? Maybe, because Trump said we got to do this with a softer touch. Did they need to change their tactics? Obviously, they changed their leadership. Nothing's wrong with that. But to think that deportation, when 66% of the country want everyone here illegally out, even though the president, when it comes to the way the president's doing the deportations, is underwater, the objective is still the same objective. That's why the president says, I want to finish the wall. I want to get close to as many people out as possible. And then I hope after the midterms, we go for some type of permanent reform that helps people come here legally the right way, that doesn't bankrupt them, but at the same time, we keep our first round draft picks. Now, me saying that, by the way, angers some people. They don't want anybody here. If you're a student from Bangladesh or you're a student from Norway, they want everybody out when you're done with your Stanford degree. I personally want to give them the option to stay because if we train them and they're elite, they could bring us the next generation of weapons and digital content and the next great invention. When we come back, we go inside the Middle East, the threat of Iran and the chance of rebuilding Gaza and having peace in the area. Doron Spielman next.
We have to make a deal, otherwise it's going to be very traumatic. Very traumatic. I don't want that to happen, but we have to make a deal. They should have made a deal the first time, and they got Midnight Hammer instead. And this will be very traumatic for Iran if they don't make a deal. Look, if they don't make a deal, then it'll be a different story. But we had a very good meeting yesterday with Bibi Netanyahu, and he understands, but it's ultimately up to me. If the deal isn't a very fair deal and a very good deal with Iran, then it's going to be, I think, a very difficult time for them in the back. I guess over the next month.
Yeah, it probably won't be a month. The president's sending the USS Gerald R. Ford, another aircraft carrier, right into the Persian Gulf to join the Abraham Lincoln. And now we know they have a lot of assets in place, a lot of jets coming in and out. And of course, Israel needs some time to fortify their defenses, because an attack on Iran, they would hit Israel as hard as they possibly could. Doron Spielman knows this. He's an IDF spokesperson. He's also in the reserves, former vice president of the City of David, and author of the best-selling book, When the Stones Speak. Doron, welcome back. Your thoughts about when the prime minister came here and met with the president on Wednesday. What do you think his message was? What did he walk away with?
You know, Brian, I actually think that there's kind of a cover story here that President Trump and Prime Minister Netanyahu have put out to the public. There's always two conversations with them. On the public sphere, it's diplomacy. But on the inside, we've seen this before, Brian, going all the way back to June. The two men are coordinated. They were coordinated before the first strike attack on Iran. And now you can hear in the words that, it's as if Prime Minister Netanyahu is trying to convince President Trump to accept a good deal with the Iranians or strike. President Trump knows that. So if you ask me what those two are really talking about, I think, Brian, they were actually talking about what is going to happen in the Middle East after the Iranian threat is eliminated. I think that was the real discussion.
Well, true. And I think one thing the prime minister said, according to the Institute for the Study of War, which has great information coming out of the Middle East, of course, you have the best, being running the IDF. Evidently, Netanyahu showed him video and pictures of how the Iranians ignored his signal not to kill protesters and actually killed 10 to 20,000. Maybe they didn't hang them. The president said, stop hanging people, but they did kill them. One thing the president hates is to be showed up. He hates it when Putin does it, certainly when the Iranians do it. Do you think that's an effective mechanism showing the truth of what's happening in that country?
No question. I think you hit the nail on the head, Brian. If President Trump is something, he's a man who wants to stand behind his word. He knows what it was to go back to the way America looked under the Obama presidency, when President Obama promised the Syrian people that if there was a red line that was crossed, the U.S. would intervene. A red line was crossed in the U.S. did not intervene, and 500,000 Syrians were killed by the Assad regime. And President Trump doesn't want to be the person that says help is on its way and to leave those people to suffer and have the U.S. just take care of the nuclear problem. So, yes, I think it is actually very important.
And Doron, remember, play it out. Also, the Russians came back in the Middle East. They flew in and they knocked on the door in Iraq and said, we just want to tell you we're going to be in Syria for a while. And they were back in the Middle East first time in decades. No one talks about the ripple effects of the lack of action, and the president knows that too. So I want you to hear the risk. If we have a military strike in Iran, what should our objective be? And what's a worst case scenario? Ari Fleischer, who was, as you know, press secretary under George W. Bush, fantastic commentator, said this.
This is exactly why the decisions presidents make are consequential and difficult. If this turns out to be, if we use our military, just like when we did against Soleimani, the previous Iranian military leader, or the snatching of Maduro, or the use of B-2s to take out their nuclear facilities, this can be very successful for the president and for peace in the region. If, on the other hand, American pilots get shot down, we don't accomplish the mission, the Ayatollah stays in place, we're bombing for weeks, then it's exactly what President Trump warned he would not do. So it comes down to success. Can we carry out the mission militarily successfully, or will it become another quagmire for America? Very difficult call for the president.
You fight wars, you're in the reserves, and you're also a spokesperson for one of the finest fighting forces. You always have to think worst case scenario, right, Doron? Is what he's worried about something that you worry about?
Brian, I think that every commander and every leader is always worried. What if the mission doesn't succeed? What if the optics are bad? But at the end of the day, a real leader, a courageous leader goes and takes the risk in order to achieve the better good. And, when England stood up to Hitler, there were many voices that told Churchill, what are you doing? We're going to lose. He's going to get revenge on us. And Churchill stood strong. When Roosevelt decided to enter World War II against Japan, there were many that said, don't try to do it. And the same thing when Israel tried, going after our enemies that came after us on October 7th, there were those who said, just let this boil over. We have to deal with our dead. But Israel took the step to go after our enemies and change the Middle East. And I think that President Trump has that courage. I think Prime Minister Netanyahu has that courage. That's what they share. And I think, Brian, he's going to go for it because at the end of the day, there's no guarantee except one thing. If we leave the Iranian regime in place today, the future is going to be bleaker when we don't have President Trump in power.
True or false? They've never been more vulnerable than they are right now.
Absolutely true. That regime is teetering on the brink of disaster. Those people are willing to take over the regime. They're starving. The rich are transferring their money out of the country. The Ayatollah is hiding underground. His son is in charge, and he is not an experienced leader. This is the time to push the regime.
The chances that the next, like the RIGC takes control and they become a military dictatorship, the chance they could be worse, how real?
I don't think it can be much worse than the Ayatollah. We're talking about a man who's investing everything in that country towards developing a nuclear weapon and warheads that can carry it to Israel and to the United States. The people are starving. They don't have water. They barely have electricity. Who else is going to come in charge that's going to be worse? So we have to make a move here. And I'm sure the U.S., just like with Venezuela, has a backup plan along with Israel of what the options are. We see some of the options. I'm sure there are others. But this is an opportunity, again, when you see a Hitler on the horizon, before he develops that bomb, before he shoots it, now is the time for us to set the record straight.
It would be great to help phase 2 really work, to cut off the funding arm of Hamas and Hezbollah. If you really want to give Gaza a chance, and I can see how it's all connected, is really, we just, and so of course with the actions in Syria now, a real chance to change things in the Middle East and focus on economics instead of terror. Doron, Spielman, thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you for having me, Brian. It's a pleasure.
All right. Meanwhile, when we come back, Griff Jenkins will bring us to the other breaking stories. We also have word about the new number when it comes to inflation. The numbers were great on jobs. Will they also be as encouraging on inflation? Probably, arguably more important. We'll discuss it as you listen to The Brian Kilmeade Show on this Friday. Don't move. Welcome back, everybody. Brian Kilmeade Show, moving through a very busy week. As I mentioned, we're talking about what's happened in Minneapolis. We know the president's had success removing illegal immigrants, cracking down on crime in New Orleans, over in Memphis, Chicago to a degree, Minneapolis, I would say yes, but especially in Washington, D.C. But it works when people cooperate. And when Tom Homan came in, they cooperated. And he announced that he's going to be pulling out yesterday. It didn't stop Democrats from high-fiving and thinking that they won, like Amy Klobuchar and Mayor Fry, as well as Governor Walz, which ironic is behind the scenes. They actually worked and allowed their cops to provide backup and secure perimeters so ICE could be more effective. 700 came out last week, and the de-escalation continued to it's eventually going to wind down entirely. Griff Jenkins joins us now, getting set for Fox and Friends weekend. Tom Homan waited about 15 minutes to say the headline, and that is that he's pulling the rest of his guys out. But before that, he went through the successes that they had, Griff.
Look, it was yet again another masterclass press conference, and I would submit to you, Brian, that the actual headline, as someone who's covered this for more than a decade, is that he said he didn't have a single sheriff in Minnesota since he's been there. He hadn't found a single sheriff that didn't want to cooperate in having the local authorities identify violent criminal illegal aliens in local jails to transfer them over to ICE so that they wouldn't be released on the streets and be a danger to the community at large. And what's so successful about what Tom Homan did is he came in, he refocused the focus on the worst of the worst, if you will, but really put the focus on getting the local authorities to cooperate. And what's fascinating, you mentioned the Democrats like Klobuchar and others that are trying to take a victory lap. Here's the bigger picture. You have here in New York, Governor Kathy Hochul wants to push to ban 287G agreements. And that's a technical thing between the federal government and local authorities. But yet it's been around for decades, and it does just what Tom Homan has done, which is to identify these illegal criminal aliens who shouldn't be here from being released onto the streets. She wants to actually get rid of it in New York. In Maryland, they passed legislation. We expect Governor Wes Moore, liberal Democrat, to sign that will do just that as well. And so while the media wants to report that Democrats won in the case of Minnesota, Tom Homan has laid out the common sense position that got President Trump reelected in 2024 on a mandate to get rid of illegal aliens, particularly the criminals that put the nation at greater risk.
So Tom Homan was on with Laura Ingraham last night after his press conference, and I'm sure he wants to get out of Minneapolis. It's freezing. It's a terrible place. Who would ever move to Minnesota? Who looked at those people on the streets in sub-zero weather and thought, I'm so proud of them? But if you are proud of them, I'm sure there's plenty of room. Tom Homan talked about the ridiculous moves the Democrats have, not saluting them for getting the criminals out of their midst, and not saying a word when the borders were broken and people flooded in. Cut 5.
Where were they the last 4 years with open borders where, 500,000 kids died from opioid overdoses, with a record number of sex trafficking women and children, over 500,000 children smuggled in the country, lost track of 300,000 of them? I said today, just here in this state, we found over 3,300 of them that they weren't even looking for that President Trump found.
But you see, Governor Walz came out yesterday and said they want to be reimbursed for the damage that ICE has done. Really?
Yeah, well,
wait for that check.
That's ironic because most of the damage was done by agitators who were spurred on by Democrats like Walz and Frey. But, it's such a great point that Tom Homan makes, because where were Democrat outrage? Where was that Democrat outrage when you had the hundreds of thousands of children being dumped on the border? I posted a picture to social media in 2023, Brian, of a child that was 2 years old, terrified, crying. Me and Texas TPS watched him being dumped across the river, rushed to try and assist him. And you know what DPS does with Border Patrol? They took the child in care, but the child had nothing other than an address in Louisiana and a phone number. And that was a snapshot that I posted on social media that went viral, but yet no Democrat was outraged. There was no AOC crying over a 2-year-old child being dumped across the border at the hands of ruthless cartel leaders. And now this is the other part of the promise that Trump made to the country, that we would find those children, some 600,000 total, that were either, put into the system and they lost track of them, or they simply have no idea what happened.
Yesterday, the president had a press conference, and by his side was EPA Commissioner Administrator Lee Zeldin. Why was it important? Why is it arguably as important as anything he's done? Because it's hitting the brakes on so much environmental regulation that put into place in 2009 by none other than Barack Obama, because they couched it as a global emergency to change the way we view and use oil, gas, and coal, or any fossil fuel. The EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin will be hitting the road explaining what they're doing, but essentially saving everybody about $2,600. Cars are going to be cheaper. I'm talking about all the American-made cars. I'm talking about that stop and start mechanism that you have when you had your car, because it says save gas, even though to start it up and put your foot on the gas, it actually give you more emissions. The climate emergency is a clown show. There's nothing about it that was substantiated by science, and yet you'd be ridiculed if you brought that up. Here's the President of the United States ending the Obama-era auto regulations. Cut 8.
I'm pleased to be joined today by EPA Administrator Lee Zeldin, who you all know, and to announce the single largest deregulatory action in American history. That's a big statement, in American history. And I think we can add the words by far. Under the process just completed by the EPA, we are officially terminating the so-called endangerment finding, a disastrous Obama-era policy that severely damaged the American auto industry and massively drove up prices for American consumers.
So it sounds ho-hum and boring, but Griff, it is not.
No. Big deal. Big deal. And by the way, can I just say, I hate that damn auto restart thing. I have a 2006 Toyota 4Runner, and I'm never getting rid of it because it doesn't have that feature. Whenever I travel on the road, which is often, and I get a rental car, literally, if I don't have that automatic button to turn it off, I'm not taking that car. I want to be able to turn that damn thing off. But let me just say, Lee Zeldin, this is a huge deal. And it's not just domestically. I reached out yesterday. I was communicating with Zeldin's team, and I wanted to get Lee Zeldin on with Rachel, Charlie, and I this weekend. But you know what? He's not available because he's going to the Munich Security Conference. You're going to hear from Lee Zeldin, who's going to go over to Europe, where much of this crap started, where the green thing started before Obama got on board, and he is going to lecture to them. I submit to you, we may see what J.D. Vance did at the Munich conference last year and put Europeans on their heels over free speech and censorship. Lee Zeldin is going to bring the hammer to the Munich conference, and it's going to be specifically on this.
Not to be jealous, not to get you jealous, but he is joining me on One Nation Sunday night.
I'm jealous.
Right. Joining us now is Rachel Campos-Duffy, because I called her in because I'm tired of talking to you.
I know.
Rachel, thank you. It was desperate. I was texting you. Please come wherever you are.
Well, I really appreciate you
getting ready for the weekend, 6 to 10, Saturday and Sunday.
That's right. By the way, did you notice? So what he was really let me decipher this, translate this for people who aren't in TV. What this means, what you just heard before between Brian and Griff, is that Brian scooped us, and either Lee Zeldin likes Brian more,
probably,
or Brian called first.
Right.
It looks like that. It looks like that. Thank you for calling that out.
But good for you. That's a great get, and your show's awesome, and we love having you talk about it on our show.
We just want to take your guests.
I know, absolutely. Usually beat us to the punch, but a couple of things. Barack Obama, when he heard this, the whole re-energizing America move by the President of the United States, he said the Trump administration repealed the endangerment finding, the ruling that served on the basis for limits on tailpipe emissions and power plant rules. Without it, we will be less healthy, less safe, and be less able to fight climate change. Also, the fossil fuel industry can make everyone more money. And first, I want to get your response to this, and then I'll tell you what Al Gore said.
Did he say that that we're going to be underwater soon because of this? This is what they all told us, right? That if we didn't do this and nothing happened, we had their rules, but I mean, come on, give me a break. This is ridiculous. What this is an affordability move. I mean, look at how much cheaper, thousands of dollars cheaper for a car. What he's actually mad about, because he knows the climate stuff is a big hoax, and you can't solve it unless you solve China and India, right? I mean, why should we have to bear the brunt of it economically?
You think Russia's worried about the environment?
They're not worried about that. And so this is an affordability issue, and President Trump has been taking on affordability in ways that actually make a difference. I mean, how you buy your first car makes a difference.
Yeah, and to your point about
how
cars,
much it costs.
As they told us back then, well, guess who was leading that was Al Gore with his Earth in the Balance. And I actually bought the audio tape because we were using it at the time on radio, and you had, one of his signature lines in the book was, "It must be possible to eliminate the combustion engine." Guess what? That didn't happen. And if we did that, it would wreck the economy.
Totally.
And at the
but
end
if
of
Gavin
the day,
Newsom got his way by 2035, they wouldn't be allowed to be sold in California. There's no way they're going to follow through on that. All these green policies in Europe, they're blowing it up. They got rid of all fossil fuels, were tried, and nuclear at the same time. And now there's panic as utility bills skyrocket.
But you know what they did accomplish with all this climate tyranny? They do have a population in Europe who's just very compliant. I mean, they may blow up, they may adjust the rules because it doesn't work in the end, but they just have a different mentality than we do. And if you talk to Europeans who are really open-minded and can really look at how they are just as a culture and mindset versus us, they're just a much more compliant population. And these rules that come from the EU and from the WEF, that they all just kind of took hook, line, and sinker. It isn't just about the rules. It's about this mentality that you can have these elites in the capitals of Europe telling you what to do, even if you're you know better.
I mean, J.D. Vance was not welcomed after he eviscerated them last year.
On free speech.
And this year, Secretary of State Marco Rubio goes over. The focus will be out in Greenland, Russia. I'm not sure. But Al Gore came out and said this. Last summer, the U.S. experienced a dozen once-in-a-lifetime, 1,000-year floods in the span of just 3 days. In Texas, one of those flooding events killed at least 135 people and 37 children. The Trump administration's rollback of the endangerment finding is not only a direct assault on science, knowledge, and public health, it's an insult to the people across the country who are already coping with the disastrous consequences of climate-driven and extreme weather events. Now, those events happen, yes. Man's role in this, Al Gore seems to have settled science. No, I don't think any other clear-thinking, non-agenda-driven scientist does.
I think if you look at this, Brian and Griff, if you look at this really macro-wise, right, they're talking to us about climate. But what they're really talking about at the biggest level, at the highest level, is about how do you control America, right? They are threatened by the fact in Europe, they are threatened by our economic power. They are threatened by how President Trump came in and instantly leveraged our economic power to do something better for us, whether it's on tariffs, on trade. And trade and these rules that he's doing. They have not been able to compete with us, Europe, and they've tried to harness us, stop us with these kinds of international rules. Trump's saying, I'm not taking it.
All right. We'll take a short time out and we come back a little bit more with Griff and Rachel, who have a big show, 6 to 10, Saturday and Sunday, Fox and Friends weekend. Don't move.
We just find it incredulous that we have Planned Parenthood here, and women are 51% of the population. And the majority of the questions, all of these questions, have really been about other issues. And this happens over and over and over and over again. You wonder why we have such a horrific war on women in this country and that these guys are getting away with it, because you don't seem to care. So I just offer that with love.
So Gavin Newsom's having a press conference all about Planned Parenthood. So abortion. They want to talk about how great abortion is.
With love.
Right, with love.
With love. Because don't you just think abortion and love? Happy Valentine's Day.
Griff
Sorry.
Jenkins, yes.
I mean, it's so gross.
But yet, do you see his face? That was struck you. You know how he always looks very composed?
Yeah.
He did not look composed. He looked like, oh my goodness, what are you doing? Plus, the questions were like, basically, is your husband running for president? You know what it's like. Trump deals with that every day. Yeah. He has a world leader next to him, and they're like, what's with the Epstein files? You know, so she's flipping out. I mean, Griff, that's so embarrassing.
It is, and it's time and time again, you know, we keep hearing that Gavin Newsom is the most polished of the crowd, maybe Pritzker, but more so Gavin. He's handsome, and he's got good hair and all this stuff. But it is in those moments that are quite telling, and he wasn't ready for that.
Right. So Gavin Newsom, I guess he's going to be running for president. Every week they'd have a different feature. Pete Buttigieg, Rachel, I want to get this to you. I think it was Axios or Punchbowl, whatever. They did a whole thing on Buttigieg. And you know what his weakness is? His weakness is he was a bad mayor with no significant accomplishments. And at the Department of Transportation, he couldn't even spend money. They gave him billions. He was so lazy and slow, he couldn't even award it anywhere else. And this is what Sean Duffy, who you've met, has mentioned as to put. So this guy is getting ready for president. The problem is he didn't do a good job in the preliminary game.
I mean, he was like not even there. I mean, literally not even there. Half the building was, or more than half the building was working from home, you know, still. And, you know, I think the greatest liability that Pete Buttigieg has going into a potential run is Sean Duffy. And I say that, you know, I know I know I'm biased, but it is a bipartisan acknowledgement that the Department of Transportation has never done more than under Sean. And the fact that he was there, it wasn't like, yeah, the plane crash was a wake-up call to Sean on day one. Okay, what happened here? It took about 2 weeks to figure out that our air traffic control system was antiquated. But Pete Buttigieg had tons of near misses and never did anything. Instead, he said, I'm going to direct billions of dollars that could have gone towards an new air traffic control system. He directed it towards DEI projects. And one of the things that Sean has had to do is in order to get things done, and you know, whether it's a road or a train or whatever it is that they're building, is pull all this DEI requirement out of it, because like literally there are companies that want to build that dam or want to build that not the dam, but build that road or build that whatever, and they can't meet all of the regulations for DEI, as a construction company. And so it just didn't get done.
Well, see, what Newsom and Pete Buttigieg have in common is they want to be president, but they don't understand they have to build up their resume and deserve it.
Right.
So it's like people, I want to get to Fox News. Well, what are you doing? Well, I'm a local station. I don't really work that hard. I take a lot of days off and I try to punch out early. You're not going to get to Fox News that way. Are you? Is it going to be okay if you do a crappy job as secretary and governor? Can you still be president?
Not just a crappy job.
Is it to be president or be nominated?
Well, what do you mean?
Well,
I mean, the goal was
Kamala was crappy and she was nominated.
Right. She was a terrible vice president,
Sorry, Griff.
But no, I just wanted to lean into what you were talking about, which is, what Sean has done is deal with what we found out when I was reporting on the crash. The ATC had equipment that was 50 plus years old. And so Sean's like, how in the world did the last guy here or the other 5 guys that were there over 50 years not do anything about it? And yet it is that record.
Anything you want to promo before you go?
Yeah, we're going to White Castle on a Valentine's Day.
That sounds romantic.
That on Fox and Friends.
Thank you.
That's my romantic date.
Everyone, so glad you're here. The Brian Kilmeade Show coming your way. This hour, we're going to be covering all the breaking news, including the latest inflation numbers that it has and how its effect on the market as we close out this week. Big job numbers last week. But the reason why it kind of boomeranged in the world of economics is because if the job numbers look strong, there's less of a chance of the Fed dropping rates. What the market wants is for the Fed to drop rates, and they are desperate to unstick the housing market. And one way to do that is to do something that might lower the rates and get people to give up their 3.8% mortgage and maybe take a risk on a 5% mortgage. But when it's 7 and 8, it's very hard to make sense of that unless you have cash. Therefore, if you have a mortgage, it's a different story. This hour, you're going to hear my interview with John Harbaugh, one of the most high-profile coaches over the last 20 years in the NFL with the famous family. His brother Jim's over in San Diego, which is now the Los Angeles Chargers, and he is now the coach of the New York Giants, what it was like getting fired, and what is it like getting hired. We'll talk to him about that. But first, I think we should learn about the big 3.
Number 3.
He knows a good deal when he sees one. I can't for the life of me think that we would ever put anything together that didn't fundamentally change Iran's behavior in the region.
General Jakim, he knows a lot of people that lost their lives or changed their lives to the Iran militia and their insidious terrorist activities, especially in Iraq. And now he sees them as weak as ever, and they are on the clock as the aircraft carrier, the Gerald R. Ford, steams its way to the Persian Gulf to join the USS Abraham Lincoln. Are we moving in a war direction?
Number 2.
Under the process just completed by the EPA, we are officially terminating the so-called endangerment finding, a disastrous Obama-era policy that severely damaged the American auto industry.
More than that, so much of oil, gas, and fossil fuels because the world has a fever. EPA is A-OK. As they unwind the unfounded environmental regulations hamstringing our energy and our economy. Ladies and gentlemen, this is revolutionary.
Number 1.
But even though we're drawing down resources, we still want to have hundreds of special agents here. This is ending the surge, but we're not going away. And let me say this, over 800 flights a day land in St. Paul, Minnesota. If we need to come back, we'll come back.
Homan pulling out in Minneapolis, 4,000 arrested, over 3,000 unaccompanied minors rounded up. The truth is, Homan worked with local governor, worked with the local mayor, worked with 74 sheriffs, and they changed the way things were working on the ground. And the spirit of cooperation was real, even though it wouldn't be backed up and confirmed by Democratic leaders. In fact, the governor of Minnesota actually said they want to be reimbursed for the damage they say ICE has caused. You radicalize your society to make sure ICE, the best they could, would not be effective in rounding up the criminals amongst you, those on the deportation list, not even access to the prisons. You've altered the way we did that, and in turn, you have some damage. How unbelievable is it, and what gall in a governor that watched billions of dollars being shoveled out of his country into Somalia, not saying a word, denying it, he knew anything, with an AG that embarrassed himself on Capitol Hill yesterday in Ellison. Now he says, I want the government to give me money. You've wasted more money than Minnesota could spend. Here's Tom Homan yesterday and talked about how now Democrats are high-fiving thinking they forced him out, when the real problem was what they did the last 4 years. And the goal that Tom Homan is talking about is not walking away. It's bringing down the temperature, getting cooperation. It was only meant to be a surge. A surge goes hard, and they pull back. Now they're pulling back. Cut 3.
But even though we're drawing down resources, we still want to have hundreds of special agents here drawn down on the fraud here from the Somatic community and others. Those fraud investigations can continue until they're done. We're going to hold people responsible. We're also got investigators here doing the church investigations, to include Don Lemon. We're not walking away from anything. We've achieved what we came here for. This is like any other surge operation. L.A., it ended. Los Angeles, it ended. Charlotte, it ended. New Orleans, it ended. This is ending the surge, but we're not going away. And let me say this. Over 800 flights a day land in St. Paul, Minnesota. If we need to come back, we'll come back.
Right, and it is absolutely true. And there's a few things that I want to go over. I told you about how many been arrested, how many criminals have been taken off the street, but there is some numbers that are disturbing, and that is how many people are still there in Minnesota. Because Todd Lyons was testifying on Capitol Hill, which is kind of tough for him because it wasn't really his policies, like it or love it or don't like it. But he had to go defend it, and he wasn't for what Bovino was doing. He wasn't for the way in which the Secretary of Homeland Security, Kristi Noem, was portraying it. But we do leave with significant people still intact there. We've, if you look at the numbers, and by the way, there's a lot of Republicans who are upset they're pulling back at all. But if you look at the numbers, there's still over 1,600 people who should be deported, who have ignored deportation orders, that need to be rounded up in Minneapolis. So there's still going to be operations, but it's not going to be like the surge activity you see. And my hope is they set up a communication, even if it's under the wire, in order to allow the local police to provide to secure the perimeter. Here's what Tim Waltz wrote. The campaign of retribution by the federal government has been more than a short-term disruption. It has inflicted long-term damage on Minnesota communities. Recovery will not happen overnight. Families, workers, and business owners are feeling the effects, and our responsibility is clear. We will help rebuild, stabilize businesses, and protect jobs. First off, Governor Waltz, you still have not rebuilt the business sector that you helped destroy and allowed burned down during the George Floyd riots. Remember, Minneapolis took a knee to the rioters and allowed them to take over the police station. And then we see the video of billions literally going out the door. So an IG report says that the President Biden, by the way, skirted rules on a $529 million migrant deal during the 2021 unaccompanied minor surge. Remember when all those kids came across without parents? No one had a heart then. We weren't blaming Trump for that. What are the kids doing? Well, they were told that the kids come, they can stay, so they stayed. So what this guy did, the President Biden, he actually bypassed federal rules to award $529 million to no-bid contracts during the 2021 unaccompanied migrant surge. The Administration for Children and Families awarded a one-year contract to Family Endeavors, a nonprofit that has recently hired a guy that is a former Biden-Obama staffer. The OAG found the ACF failed to follow requirements for full and open competition and determined the contract exceeded the agency's estimate by more than double. So what I'm trying to say is you had no problem when 9 to 11 million came here illegally, 2.5 were gotaways, which mean they're up to no good. You had no problem when the illegal immigrants surged into cities, taking over your airports and your vacant hotels. You had no problem when Mayorkas said the border was sealed and he lied. You had no problem when the person who was border czar, vice president, did nothing, said they were working on the root causes of migration. These are all incompetent idiots. And you might even think that Waltz was going to run for president. We know Kamala Harris is. This is their first example of an epic fail. You might not like the way Trump's doing it, but you agree with the objective that 66% say they want every illegal out. That's what you guys said, not just Republicans. John Harbaugh next. Hey, welcome back, everyone. If you're looking for me on Wednesday afternoon, you probably would have to find me in New Jersey at Giant Stadium. Why? Their indoor practice facility is a place I caught up with their brand new coach, one of the most successful of the modern time in the NFL. After 18 seasons with the Baltimore Ravens, was let go, and it became a bidding war for his services. The Giants is where he ended up, a famous franchise, yes, but has nothing but losing mostly for the last 10 years. Can he turn that thing around? Even with the president urging the Giants to hire John Harbaugh, it was anything but certain. So I want to bring you my exclusive interview, the entire thing. So here is part one of my interview with the New York Giants coach. With 193 wins, he walks into that building that had just 4 last year.
So, Coach, how does it feel? I see the last time I saw you were in your practice in Baltimore, you're living and breathing Ravens, and now I'm seeing an NY on your chest, a nice pullover sweater for this winter, and you're in this beautiful facility in New Jersey. Does it feel like you're the Giants head coach yet?
Well, it does. It does feel like the New York Football Giants. I mean, I got a big sign right over there that says New York Football Giants. We got the 4 trophies up here in the indoor.
Right.
It feels like the Giants.
But you didn't grow up in New York, right? This was not your area, but what does this team mean to you?
Well, I grew up as a football fan. My dad was, a football guy. So the Cleveland Browns were our team. That was one of the original teams. So the football Giants were pretty special. So we had every historical football book that you could have.
Right.
I mean, I read about Y.A. Tittle. I know about Tom Landry and Vince Lombardi. I mean, all that stuff was just kind of a part of our life growing up.
And of course, one was the offensive coordinator, one was the defensive coordinator on this team.
That's right.
That's some talent.
That's pretty powerful. Yeah.
Not head coach.
I want to be the head coach of that team.
Yeah, you get a lot of trophies. But so, Coach, I was really struck. I see a lot of press conferences, and with the Giants, they've had a lot of new coach press conferences. But for you, having that job, days after being fired from another job, you seem extremely happy. And what did it mean to have your family there, your mom and dad there?
It meant everything. I mean, to see mom and dad sitting in the front row. They were there 18 years ago, with my wife, and my daughter was there in Baltimore. And here we were for this next leg of the journey, so to speak, and they're with us still, doing great. Dad's still giving me the same advice, the team, good, rough, tough, physical football. That's what we've always been about. That's what we grew up with. And then my wife being there. It's just a new journey. And then walking in, and the players. There was a bunch of players here. They didn't have to be here. They showed up, and they were standing right there when I first walked in. It meant a lot.
Those frantic days before you took the job, can you bring us inside that moment? There's certain things you have to have, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, they were great. I always kind of knew it was going to be the Giants if they wanted me. And there was a lot of great conversations with a lot of teams. I mean, I talked to every team, and they were phenomenal. And you realize, how many great people there are in this league, how many great owners, GMs. It was really awesome to get a chance to know everybody. But I just kind of always knew it was the Giants, I guess. And then when I came here on that Wednesday, when it kind of got out that I was going to be the Giant coach, we had a great day. I mean, they rolled out the red carpet, and we had good conversations, and I got a chance to know the Maras and the Tisches, and I felt like, man, this is exactly what I thought it was going to be like. This is this family environment, first-class operation, the New York Giants, the history, having a chance to be in New York City, this fan base. That was all really big deal. But it can't just end at that. It can't just end with a good feeling. It had to be something that we knew we could build together the right way. And that took a couple days to sort it all out.
Bill Parcells, famously, I think he said it with New England, said, if you want me to cook the meal, I got to shop for the groceries.
Yeah, right.
They want to let me do that.
Yeah.
They want you to cook the meal. Do they let you shop for the groceries?
Well, yeah,
it's important.
It's important, but it's also a team deal. I mean, every single operation in football does it the same way. They all work together. So really, all the stuff about who makes the final decision and all that, I think it's all overblown. At least with the teams that do it right. I mean, you got to be on the same page. And we kind of came to an agreement through this whole process. It's something that we did in Baltimore, is that we're going to agree to agree. We're going to find a way to agree. You got to find a way to get on the same page about any player you bring in. Doesn't matter who somebody else drafted. It doesn't matter who you don't get. My dad told me this in recruiting way back when. It matters who you get. You got to get the right guys for your team. And if we can all come to an agreement on that pick or that signing, then we're going to be in good shape. So we're going to work together on it. It was that. It was other things that we felt like I just wanted to be, going in the front door, we all believed in the same things.
2 years ago, I saw you on the field, Ravens-Giants.
Yeah.
They had really no quarterback situation, playing out the string, and you always spin positively. You're like, well, they got a local hero here. He's going to be starting, the local guy. and the Giants didn't stay with you for a quarter. If you watch the Giants games, which you did prior to this, it was a different team with a very similar record.
Right.
From the football guy, what did you see on that tape that made you think that this is a thing I could turn around?
That's a great question, and that's exactly what happened. I saw a football team playing to win. I saw a bunch of guys playing physical, tough football, a bunch of guys that cared. You know, they weren't concerned about the record. They were concerned about the game, the series, the play, you know, and trying to win that play. I mean, I saw a quarterback throwing his body around trying to win football games, you know. As a rookie. I saw an offensive line. I saw a running back, you know, powerful. I saw a defense flying around. They didn't make plays all the time that they needed to make to win games. I mean, we had the same issue in Baltimore. Every team does. But they were playing the game the right way. So I'm like, well, I think I can work with these guys.
So you saw enough there that it wouldn't be, even though the record was, they've been only 7-27 in the last few years. So that's not a type of record where you're hitting the ground and you just need one more piece.
Right.
How do you feel about that?
Well, I just never thought one more piece was ever the answer. I mean, all the teams that think, hey, this will be the one piece to get us over the hump, you find out it's really all about kind of the whole and the way the parts mesh together. So no team is as far away as you think. No team is as close as you think. Every team in the National Football League is kind of in the same plane.
Right.
You know, it's not like college football where you got these big swings. So this team is good enough to do great things next year, but you got to earn it.
Right.
You got to earn the right to play in big games.
So there was a big game, Super Bowl Sunday.
Yeah.
This guy, Mike McDonald, head coach of this now Super Bowl champions.
This guy?
Yeah. Seattle Seahawks. He was your intern.
Yeah.
Right?
He was my intern, then he was my linebacker coach, then he was my defensive coordinator.
He couldn't say enough nice things about you. This is Mike McDonald when asked about John Harbaugh.
I don't think it's possible to overstate his influence on me. I love John Harbaugh. He's one of my biggest mentors. Was willing to take chances on me when other people weren't, and invested in me and my career throughout, and stretched. You know, like the things that I felt like I could do. He had a vision for me in my career that I probably didn't have for myself, and all those principles that are part of his program that he's about as a person resonated with me, and those are a lot of the foundational principles that we brought to Seattle. And he's a great friend. He's got a great family, so I can't tell you how much I love him.
Your thoughts?
It's the first time I saw it. I read it. It's the first time I heard him say it. Yeah, my thoughts are, it kind of makes me a little choked up. You know, I mean, it's a meaningful thing. You know, and I remember, you know, Mike is an introspective guy. He's a guy that thinks everything through. I couldn't be more proud of him. But you know, sometimes you can, you know, when you're coming up through the ranks, you know, you kind of can doubt yourself, or you wonder if it's ever going to work for you. And I remember kind of telling him one time, it's like, you know, it's okay to dream big. It's okay to have high expectations. I mean, actually, it's okay to be a little embarrassed by what you want to accomplish. You know, if people aren't laughing at your dream when you tell them, then your dream's not big enough. You know, it needs to be so big that people laugh at you and think it can't be done. And here he is now, a Super Bowl champion, because he was willing to believe it was possible.
But you saw something in him.
Oh yeah, I mean, Mike's always been smart. He's a good person. He's got a great heart. He cares about people. He works really hard at it. He put his players first all the time. He's a great family man. He thinks about two things. He thinks about the football team and his family, and his dog, who's part of his family.
Right.
Now he's got kids now. So he's just the right kind of guy. But everything always mattered to him the most. He took everything personally, and he wanted to be good at it. And he treated people the right way. To see him be successful, man, it's just like, I don't know. It's like your own success, right? It's like when your kids have success.
It's better.
It's better.
When other people have success.
Yeah.
I know what you're saying, but I know the Giants want you to have success. Yeah. But just having those few moments.
Well, we got to beat the Seahawks now.
I know. And when you play, it's going to be different. And and I guess he knows your buttons and you know his.
All right. Part 2, we're going to discuss more about what he's up against in New York. Can he handle the press? And what his goals are personally, like finding a house. Don't miss the rest of my interview with John Harbaugh. Hey, welcome back. I had a chance to catch up with John Harbaugh, one of the most high-profile and sought-after coaches in the NFL, who had a job for 18 years and then hooked up with the New York Giants. And there's a sense in this media market that he's going to turn this thing around right away. So in part 1, I talked about what he has meant to Mike McDonald, the Super Bowl winning coach of Seattle. He hired him as an intern. In part 2, I look at Jackson Dart, what he learned by shaping an offense around Lamar Jackson, and what Jackson Dart did. In fact, Jackson Dart came down to our interview before just to introduce himself. That's what a humble guy he is. Here's part 2 of my interview with the head coach of the New York Giants, John Harbaugh.
Let's talk about something that hadn't happened. You have this incredible run with the Ravens. You have this fantastic relationship with the owner, seemingly, and you've said that in the past. What is it like, that moment after 18 years in a Super Bowl, or playoffs, and 193 wins?
Yeah.
193 wins. That feeling when it's like, John, I need to speak to you.
Yeah. Well, I knew it was coming, you know. Eric gave me a heads up, and then I talked to Steve, and it was okay. It was okay. I understood it. I understood what he was thinking. It's a move I might have done myself, because I kind of think I know what he's trying to accomplish with it. And I told him that. I said, you know, because he felt bad about it. You know, he was really emotional about it. I think he felt like, I don't know. And I just told him, I said, you know, we're going to be friends for life. You know, you don't need to apologize. You're doing what you think is best. You're doing exactly what I would do. You got to make a tough decision with a player or whatever. It's going to be okay. Mm-hmm. And then I hung up the phone, and then it sets in. You're like, it's over.
Wow.
It's over, you know. And then you start thinking about what's next, I guess. But all that gets meshed up together in your emotions. We've all been through it. People know.
Everybody watching knows. There's
Right.
that moment where you so you don't get that job, or you get fired from that job.
Right.
And I guess you got to learn from it. There's a belief, I think some great coaches have said, I got 10 years, and after a while the players start turning you off.
Yeah.
Do you believe that?
Well, it was 18 years, so if they started turning me off after 18 years, I'm okay with it. But you know what? I don't really believe that. I mean, I do think everything runs out. I mean, nobody survives life. You know, nobody makes it out alive.
I hear.
And that's okay. You know, it's just the way things are. But I know right down to the end, those guys were fighting. I mean, I saw the way they played. I saw their rise in the team meeting room. I know how they took the field. I know how they believed in each other and the coaches and everybody else. I think our guys gave their very best right to the end, and that's what I'll be proud of. I mean, you know, 18 years of football, people watch the Ravens play, and they'll always say, that's what the Ravens look like. This is how everybody can describe the Ravens. Any football fan can tell you, hey, what are the Ravens like? They'll tell you, rough, tough, physical, disciplined, hard-nosed football
That's
team.
a good feeling for you.
That's a great feeling. Yeah. That's what I take away from the thing. And they played that way to the end. So I'm proud of those guys. I love those guys.
So let's talk about the end. You hit that field goal. Tyler Luke hits that field goal.
Yeah.
You're a rookie. You're in the playoffs. And once you get in the playoffs, you know how to win. Yeah. And if you get deep in the playoffs, maybe we're not here in New Jersey walking the Giant Field, but I saw a video of you walking through the tunnel, the back of your head, and your arm was around your kicker that just missed a 44-yard field goal, and he said he just missed it. What did you say to him? Why was it important for you to do that?
I just said to him, it's going to be okay, and you're going to be okay, and it's going to be all right, and things are going to be fine. And that was really all I said. And he was crying, you know, because it mattered to him, because he felt like he let everybody down. Why? Because I was walking up behind him, and it's like one of those God moments, you know. It was a moment where there was no other option. Like, I didn't think about, let me go find Tyler. It wasn't like in my plan. I was feeling sorry for myself and everybody else.
You kind of knew it was over then, too.
Well, I don't know, but I just didn't want to lose the game. We were right there. You have a chance to win. You get stunned. We had the same thing happen to us in New England in 2011. You know, it's like, and it's a shocking moment. And you're walking off, and there he is. I'm walking down the hallway, and there he is right in front of me. He's by himself, and I could see he was just kind of staggering almost, all the cameras. And it was just like, man, just like God told me, it's like, you got to go walk up and put your arm around this guy. It was just too easy to do it. And it was the right thing to do, and it just, you know, he's a good dude, you know, and he's going to be better because of it.
What I noticed with you is, like, despite the stress in the game, I've seen you have heartbreaking losses, unfortunate bad calls, and missed field goals. But I never see a painful look on your face. It's almost like I gave it everything. I put him out there to win. I win, I feel good. I lose, I wish I didn't.
Yeah.
And is that grounding come because you seem to be a very spiritual guy? Like, you seem to always have it in perspective.
Yeah.
Is that because I'm on the outside,
Yeah.
or is that an observation that's accurate?
Well, you know me. I mean, you know, we're friends, and you know me, and I see the same thing in you. But it is because of that, because, like, I really believed, and I think our team believed, that we were on this sort of this spiritual quest a little bit, whatever your beliefs might be. We would start off 1-5, and we were down at the bottom, man. We were at the bottom of the ocean.
Predicted to win it all.
Had to swim our way all the way back to the top, to the surface, just barely get our head above water, fighting to the end, even in that game, which was like almost a representation of the whole season. You know, the fight inconsistencies sometimes, but found a way to fight our way back to that moment. And you thought, this is the way it's supposed to go. We're going to win this game.
Right.
We're going to be in the playoffs. We're going to have a shot. We could win the whole thing. We could be that good. You just knew that that was what the plan was, maybe that God had for us. And boom, it goes wide right, and you're like, it's not what I expected.
Wow.
I thought we were going to come out of it. I thought we were going to surface. I thought we were going to come out of it, and boom. And then you just got to kind of ask yourself, well, why? It's like, well, we make our plans. God orders our steps, and this is the way it is. This is the way it's supposed to be. This is the purpose somehow, some way.
Interesting. One thing that you had with the Ravens, you had a young quarterback with a lot of talent and maybe overachieved from what the draft thought.
Yeah.
And now you got Jackson Dart,
yeah,
who people thought, first round draft pick, we'll see.
Jackson.
And then, and then you see what he did. I haven't met anyone, Giant fan or Giant hater, that isn't thinking this guy is going to be special. How much did that have to do with your decision? And when you looked at the film, besides the toughness, what did you see?
Well, it had a lot to do with my decision. And when I looked at the film, I saw a talented quarterback. I saw the same thing I saw with Lamar Jackson, the same thing. When you watch the tape, even though everybody said Lamar wasn't a quarterback, not everybody, but too many people said he wasn't a quarterback, you look at the tape and you say, this is a football player, this is a quarterback. We can do something with this guy. Now we're going to have to do something nobody's ever done. We did something nobody's ever done in 2019. We built an offense that now changed the way the game is played. You see those plays now in football all over at every level. You never saw them before.
Give me an example.
Some of the read option plays, the midline read option plays, some of the play actions off of it. Oh, the idea that you want to extend plays, that you want to have a play on top of a play on top of a play. Lamar created all that. Right. With his natural ability, who he is as a player. I'm not saying we saw exactly what it was going to become, because Lamar made it happen, but we decided that we were going to believe that it could happen. It could be, a quarterback could play differently than what everybody was used to seeing.
Right.
Is that possible? I don't know. Let's try to create it. So we did it in 2019. 4 years later, we did it again with a different version, different iteration. Now they're going to do it again, a third time. That's their goal. That's what they should be doing. I root for them. So, okay, Jackson Dart. How's he going to? He's going to play Jackson Dart ball. Okay, it's going to be Jackson Dart football. That's what we got to create with our offense. We got to create an offense for this quarterback at this point in time to give him a chance to be the best he can be. And I know we can do it, and I'm looking forward to it.
And you'll have you could do these compound plays.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, it'll be built around his skill set. The things he does well. He does so many things well. He's different than Lamar Jackson.
Right.
But he's Jackson Dart. He's who he is. He's the way God made him, right?
Right.
And I just think it's our job as coaches to bring that out of him. For any coach out there, I don't care what you're doing, teacher, you're running a business. I mean, you've got talented people around you. You got talented people working with you and for you. Right. There's things they do well. Find those things that they do well and make the most of them.
Don't try to make them somebody they're not.
Right.
That's one of your coaching things. And also for you in New York, I know people have to tell you there's a whole different standard.
Yeah.
And you know how quick, not so necessarily they turn on you, but how much they want to win and how demanding they are. They still show up in the parking lot with 4 wins.
Yeah.
It's still packed. They're still tailgating. Do you know you can handle that pressure?
Oh, yeah, I can take it. I'm sure I can take it.
We've seen a lot of Giant coaches blowing up, but not that that's bad. It actually makes it interesting.
I got scars, man. I've been in a lot of. It's like you've been in fights, right? I mean, if you don't have any scars, you haven't been in any fights.
Right.
If you got scars, you've been in fights. You're going to get hit. You're going to get bloodied. I've been hit. I've been bloodied a lot. So I'm ready for whatever. That stadium right out there. You see it right out there. That stadium right there. That's going to be our home.
Mm-hmm.
And it's going to be a fun place to be. It's going to be our arena. It's going to be our battleground. I can't wait to go in there and start throwing punches. I'm looking forward to it with a football team.
Right.
A bunch of guys that want to throw punches together. So I don't care about the rest of it. The rest of it's going to be fine. And what are they going to do? They're going to say bad things about you? They're going to say good things about you? I'm more worried about when we start winning.
Right.
When we start winning a bunch of games in a row, what they start saying about us that we don't buy it. They start patting you on the back and telling you how great you are, Brian. You're great.
I don't get that, but go ahead. But so you don't want to get too ahead of yourself, but people have expectations, and I think that's important.
All right, coming up next, more of my interview with John Harbaugh. We wrap things up about how he's going to handle the New York press and meeting Donald Trump. You're listening to the Brian Kilmeade Show. Hey, welcome back, everyone. Finally, the last part of my interview with John Harbaugh. What a fantastic guy on handling the New York press. It's different than Baltimore. It's different than when his brother's even dealing with Los Angeles. Also, meeting Donald Trump and the blowback he received. just because he met him. He pointed out he met other presidents and they said, congratulations. With Trump, they said, what are you doing? Also, what he thought with Brian Dable, the guy that was fired that he replaced, kind of recommendations that he gave, and Tom Coughlin's role, the Super Bowl winning quarterback with a Super Bowl winning coach with the New York Giants, and why he's been a mentor to John Harbaugh, even at the age of 63. So my interview, part 3, with the coach of the New York Football Giants, John Harbaugh. Listen up.
A couple of things happen. You're going to get a lot of questions about the press, from the press. A lot of people, they're going to be questioning you, and you're going to be looking at them saying, did you just coach 18 years and win 193 games, and you're questioning my decisions? Are you going to get that from different angles maybe instead of 2 or 3?
Yeah, I mean, to me, that's normal. I mean, to me, what you have to understand is that the game of football is a real life game. It's really tough, and the guys who play it are real life warriors in an athletic kind of sense. And so that's what the game's about. But the business of football is entertainment. Right. That's what pays all the bills. And if you understand that, like, it is entertainment, you're in the entertainment business in that sense, and you got an audience out there and they're a part of it, and they want to be involved in it, and it's like reality TV. That's what makes it so compelling, and you're an actor in this whole thing. It's a drama. So embrace it for what it is. If they want to criticize you and say you shouldn't have gone for it on 4th and 1, it's like, that's part of the deal. That's what you're in it for. Right. Let's have the conversation. I'm gonna back down. I'll tell them what I think. Right. And I'll try to be nice about it as much as I can, but we're all doing our best. So you can't really be afraid of that.
Understood. So you had a chance to meet 4 presidents?
I met Ronald Reagan. Right. I met President Obama. Right. And I met President Trump.
Right.
So 3.
And then you meet President Trump, and I watched this video. You were getting questions, not about the game. Yeah, right. And you guys got off to a slow start. You were getting questions about Trump. Did it surprise you, like why you would go?
It did surprise me.
Right. And was it surprising you lose your job with the Ravens and the President of the United States puts on Truth Social? If I could just paraphrase, hey, Giants, do not let this guy go.
It did surprise me.
What was that like?
It was crazy. All of a sudden I start getting bing, bing, bing. My phone starts going off, and there it is. It's like, man, okay, I guess that's where he is the president. I guess that's what we're going to do.
What'd your parents say about that?
No, about him saying to go to the Giants? They were fired up about it. I mean, we loved it. We loved meeting President Trump. We loved all of his group. It was awesome, but it's pretty cool. I mean, it just goes to show you like how blessed we are to do something like this. I know you feel
that the President of the United States
he even knows who you are. It's crazy to me.
Well, it makes sense to me for him to know who you are, especially a president so engaged in sports.
Yeah.
I mean, he's in everything, but for better or for worse. America 250 this year. You understand history, what this means, celebrating. You're going to be on the field for that, a lot of things. What do you think people should keep in mind celebrating America's 250th birthday?
Oh, man. I mean, I think people should keep in mind that this is the greatest country and this is the greatest experiment in governing and the greatest experiment in society building that's ever been attempted in the history of the world. I mean, what this is about was never even comprehended in the history of the world until 1776. When these founding fathers came up with this idea. And then it was founded on some premises that they weren't ready to achieve, and we still haven't gotten there yet, but that's okay. We're fighting our way to accomplish all the things that this country was founded on. We should try to do it together. That's what I think.
And on the sideline when the national anthem plays?
Yeah. I'm going to be proud to be standing out there.
All right.
Proud American.
So, John, lastly, prediction.
Okay.
Coming season. You'll be walking into a team, 4 wins. What could you tell the fans? What could you tell the observers about what do you expect this year?
Well, I think the thing that you can say with certainty, because nothing is certain in life, we're not given to know the future, but what you can say with certainty is that the New York Giant football team will get off the bus and walk into every one of those stadiums this year, and we'll expect to win the game. We'll be playing the kind of football that is winning football. We'll be playing the kind of football that's going to make the fans proud. And our plan is going to be to win every single game we play. I mean, that's the idea. And that's what we're going to be fighting for.
I keep hearing the word culture. The minute you walked in the building, we have a different culture, different demands. Can you give us an idea? What do you mean by that? What does that mean?
I mean, culture is such a crazy word, but it's like it's a worldview. It's a common understanding, shared understanding. It's a vision, and it's a way of looking at things. And like, I think our guys we just want a bunch of guys. I want a bunch of guys around me that love what I love, which is football.
Right.
I mean, we're here for football. And if you love football and you love practice and you like meetings and you like coming out on this turf, you want to be on the grass or the plastic grass. If you like to talk ball, if you want to hang around the office, You know, if you like going to the cafeteria and being around the guys, then you're going to like being a New York Giant. You know, you're going to want to be a Giant because that's what we're going to be doing.
Wasn't it interesting that Brian Daboll and Tom Coughlin have two things in common? They both ended up being fired by the Giants, and they both thought you should take the job.
Yeah.
And they wanted to, and they said great things about the organizations. What did that mean to you?
They did. It meant a lot to me because Tom Coughlin, I mean, is a hero to me. I mean, I look up to Tom Coughlin. He's one of my best friends in coaching now, and just because I look up to him, and it's for him. You know, he was calling me every day, basically. He was giving me advice. He was telling me what to say. He was telling me what to think. I mean, and then Brian Daboll, like I know Brian a little bit going into this operation, going into this situation, but we probably talked about it every other day. And he was telling me about the team and things, and he never said one thing about the Giants organization, the players, anybody that was negative. I mean, It was amazing. That kind of got me fired up.
He's going to be a head coach again.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. So, John, one of the first times I met you, I interviewed you at the Super Bowl, and unfortunately, I think you had a great run, but you didn't make it to the Super Bowl. But they see the smile, they see the looks, and they said, we need this guy on the network working the Super Bowl coverage. And you were kind enough to come on Fox and Friends first. And then you told me, I had a problem. I'm heading right. I don't know if it's NBC or CBS or ABC, but I'm heading over, and I have no belt.
I didn't.
Right? So I said, I'm a 32. What are you? He's like, I think you're a 32, right? Yeah. So I gave him my belt. Didn't hear anything from him ever since. I've been talking. I say the story on television. They're like, there's no way that's true. Well, sure enough, the word gets back to John, and I get a Ravens belt in the mail. And of course, at the end of the season, since you're not there anymore, do I have to hand this in? I mean, do I
give it back?
Do I have to give it back to you?
The purple embroidery?
Right.
No, you need to keep this belt. You need to keep this belt.
You mean doesn't it belong to the Ravens until?
No, I had to pay for this belt.
Oh, you did?
Give it to me for free.
Oh, all right. So I owe you.
I'm going to get you one with the blue embroidery next, all right? How about that?
That'll be fine, because until then, I won't wear a belt. All right? That's how much I'm counting on you. John Harbaugh, new coach of the New York Football Giants. Congratulations.
Thanks.
I like the sweater.
So nice of the New York Giants to make the coach available. I know things are going to get very busy and very heated. I think they're going to win at least 11 games next year. And I know you're taping this. Also, I'll see you Saturday night, Valentine's Day in Fort Myers, Florida. And you're going to listen to the stream on Fox Nation and watch. I think you're going to love the unscripted stage show with over 1,500 people in attendance on Fox Nation, 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Keep it here on The Brian Kilmeade Show. So glad you're there. It's the Brian Kilmeade Show coming to you from 48th and 6th in Midtown Manhattan. Heard around the country, around the world. Tyrus is going to be here at the bottom of the hour. Enough said. Shannon Bream is getting ready to join us. She's getting ready for Fox News Sunday. We understand what's happening, covering all the breaking news. And first off, I'll share this with you. About an hour ago, we got the jobs report, was released last Wednesday. We know the jobs report was really good. It was above estimates. They added an estimated 130,000 jobs, dropping unemployment to 4.3%. The market reacted, and then it got depressed because they realized if the jobs are good, they won't cut rates, which everyone wants to help unfreeze everything from the credit card you have in your pocket to the house you might want to move into. Also, this is pretty good news. When it comes to inflation, this just in. It came in at a lower than expected, cooling 2.4%. That's an 8-month low. Prices went up just 0.2%. That's another low. And meanwhile, core inflation dropped to 2.5%. What does it mean? Well, put this in context. If that's the lowest since March of 2021. So let me see. The GDP's in its 4s. Wages are up. Inflation is down. Excuse me? At one point, people got to say the economy's doing well. All right? At some point. Big 3.
Number 3.
He knows a good deal when he sees one. I can't for the life of me think that we would ever put anything together that didn't fundamentally change Iran's behavior in the region.
Iran on the clock. And as the Gerald R. Ford aircraft carrier steams into the Persian Gulf, we have the moving parts.
Number 2.
Under the process just completed by the EPA, we are officially terminating the so-called endangerment finding, a disastrous Obama-era policy that severely damaged the American auto industry.
EPA is A-OK as they unwind the unfounded environmental regulations hamstringing our energy and economy, all in one swoop, undoing what Obama put in place in 2009. We'll explain.
Number 1.
But even though we're drawing down resources, we still want to have hundreds of special agents here. This is ending the surge, but we're not going away. And let me say this, over 800 flights a day land in St. Paul, Minnesota. If we need to come back, we'll come back.
Homan pulling out in Minneapolis. 4,000 arrested on his resume, over 3,000 unaccompanied minors, many of which they were not even being searched for, were scooped up. The truth is, Homan worked with local governor, worked with the local mayor, but they didn't take, and 74 sheriffs, but they didn't take that opportunity to salute him like he showed respect to them. Instead, they're demanding a refund because they say ICE damaged some of their facilities. Are you kidding me? Some of their roads? It is nuts. Shannon, Bream, anchor of Fox News Sunday, Fox News chief legal analyst. No one doubts Tom Homan did a good job. Shannon, was I wrong to think that perhaps that Governor Walz might take that time to say that and say, I'm glad things were able to work out in the end?
That was not ever going to happen. And this talk of, now you owe us money. Governor Walz, if you are waiting for the feds to write you a check for anything that happened there, I would not hold my breath. Like you said, once Tom Homan went in, the temperature changed, the way the enforcement rolled out changed. He said, we're not going to stop enforcing. If you're in this country and you're not here legally, you are subject to deportation at any time in any place that we find you, but we're going to work smarter. We're going to do this in a better way. And he has praised a lot of the local and state authorities that they've been able to work together on things. But so often when he does that, you'll see one of them pop up somewhere else and say like, oh no, we're not doing that.
All right, I want you to hear what Tom Homan told Laura last night. Cut 4.
President Trump made a promise to make this country safe again, and that's exactly what we're doing. We have arrested hundreds of thousands of public safety threats, and not only remove them from the communities, we remove them from the country. You know, these politicians, I hear the majority of Democrats have been saying, yeah, you should concentrate on the criminal aliens, forget the rest. Yes, we agree. The public safety threat, illegal aliens should be targeted. But then they lock us out of the jail. They can't square that. And this guy here, he's a mess because the men and women of ICE every day go out in the street, put their lives on the line to make this country safe again.
So it's just unbelievable where there's not an appreciation. So Todd Lyons testified on Capitol Hill. He got blasted for ridiculous reasons. I guess Congresswoman McIver knows who's going to heaven and hell. She said Todd Lyons will go to hell. That's nice. The director said that during the hearing, the agency is still looking for 16,840 people in Minnesota with final orders of removal. So they said they're going to be there, but a much smaller footprint. So what happens next, Shannon? Do you see them going in like anywhere like New Orleans, like they did in D.C. where you are?
Mm-hmm. Well, that's the thing. They have been in a lot of other cities that did not have these very public confrontations on the streets of Minneapolis, like what they had there. They've been doing this in San Diego and San Jose and Nashville and Charlotte and Memphis and New Orleans. They've been doing this in other places where they've worked with local leaders. Sometimes they are Democrats, elected local leaders. And listen, they're all different operations when it comes to scope and how they're carrying them out. Minnesota was a huge operation, but they've been able to have a lot of success in a lot of different places with a lot less violence on the streets. And that's better for everybody, the agents, the suspects, the neighborhoods. Mm-hmm. And so I don't think they're going to stop enforcement, according to Tom Homan, but it is going to go to other places.
I mean, in New York, they already have the mayors collaborating because Mayor Frey is taking a bow and a victory lap.
Right.
Now he wants to coach other mayors like Mondami on how to push back on ICE. Eric Adams was actually cooperating with ICE, prisons, as well as providing some backup. So it looks like they're going to try to bring some of that maniacal behavior to this city if the president surges here. Do you think the president gets a sense maybe he should back off in these cities because it's not worth it?
No, I think if he does another surge in a big place like New York, he's going to send Tom Homan there first. I think that this is a guy who's been doing this since the Reagan administration, whether he was in uniform or in a managerial role. He knows how to get these things done and to have honest conversations with local officials. And so I think prior to doing something in a city like New York, I think the president would say, we're sending Tom Homan. You guys should have some conversations. Mamdani has said, we're not going to do anything to cooperate with ICE. Well, okay, then if there is a surge operation into your city, then you're going to have a lot more people on the streets than if you would let them come on ICE detainers and take people from prison, which is safer for the suspect and safer for the agents. And again, as you said, there are thousands of people who have had due process. They are now subject to a final removal order. This is not people who have not had any chance to make their case. Why wouldn't you want those people taken from your community?
Right.
That's a question you gotta ask.
But you know the answer. Of course you would, but they don't admit it. They say our neighbors and our immigrant friends, forgetting the illegal overstayed visas, convicted or charged with a crime. Here's what Katie Couric said. Listen.
Isn't all this talk about ridding the country of violent criminals a massive overstatement if less than 14%, again, of the 400,000 immigrants being arrested are had charges or convictions for violent criminal offenses? What about the 14%? Such a low percentage of 400,000 people.
If your daughter gets raped by the guy that gets back out and he's one of the 14%, I don't think you're going to quibble about whether it's 14 or 64.
So the mindset is, what's the big deal?
Yeah, that's the point. And listen, I think we would all agree the majority of people who come to this country illegally are economically desperate, and many of them are good, hardworking people who just want a better life for their families. But if you have to say, okay, some 14% or whatever percentage of them are convicted criminals from their own home country, they're potential terror suspects, they're gang members, we shouldn't want one of those people to come here. And I have a good family friend whose son was nearly killed in a hit and run by somebody who was here illegally. That kid would not have almost died absent that person coming across the border. I mean, that's just the fact. I mean, as somebody who's here and does harm, rapes, kills, ask Lake and Riley's family. You know what I mean? It doesn't matter how many people. We should say we as a country should exist with borders that are safe, that we can have asylum and refugee people come in, but we got to have some order to the chaos. And if we don't know who's here, that only makes things all the more dangerous for everybody who is here in America.
What do you think about this? I'm going to tap into your legal background. U.S. District Judge and a real pain in the neck to this administration, Judge James Boasberg, who has butted heads with the president. He said on Thursday he ordered the government to facilitate the return of 137 migrants deported to the notorious El Salvador CCOT prison. Boasberg stipulated that the ruling that the government pay for the migrants' airfare back to the U.S., meaning taxpayers, are likely to foot the bill. Here's his quote. The situation would never have arisen had the government simply afforded plaintiffs their constitutional rights before initially deporting them. These are gang members. These are the worst of the worst. Tricia McLaughlin came out and says nothing has changed. In addition to being in our country illegally, these aliens are foreign terrorists designated as alien enemies by the president. What has to happen now? Is they have to listen to this judge or just work it up to the Supreme Court?
Yeah, I will be very interested to see if DOJ goes with a formal appeals process. We're waiting to get some kind of official notification from them if they intend to do that, because, you know, the Supreme Court has touched on a lot of different things involving immigration in the last few years, but they've been very clear that it is the purview of the executive branch of the federal government to make these decisions about immigration. So I'll be very interested to see what happens to that decision on appeal as it would work its way through the process. But you know, there are a number of legal scholars across the spectrum who say you could do this from Venezuela. You could do remote hearings that would give them access to attorneys and a chance to make their case. I think the average American out there, if you told them we're going to spend your money that you went to work for this morning at 7 a.m. to bring people back to this country under this scenario, I got to think most of them would not be for that spending of their tax dollars.
I hear you. Before you go, Shannon, who's going to be on your show?
Okay, we are going to have Senator Katie Britt because she is the lead negotiator on this ICE reform shutdown situation that kicks in tonight at midnight when DHS loses its funding. So she's going to be with us. Other side of the aisle, we've got Senator Chris Coons from the Munich Security Conference. Talk all the foreign policy stuff with him. We've got Ken Paxton. We're talking to all of the contenders that will come on in this big Senate race out of Texas, because it really is one of those seats that could impact whether Republicans hold on to the Senate. And we're going to spend some time with the Ruthless guys, take you behind the scenes with them. Oh, what have you got on Sunday?
What do I have on Sunday? Lee Zeldin's going to be joining me talking about revolutionizing environmental standards. We also have an interview with John Harbaugh, that's a future Super Bowl winning coach of the New York Giants. We'll have part 2 of that. We're also going to have an interview with, who else do we have, Allison? Do we know?
Well, you're going to leave time for your dance party because each week you promised me that there will be time. So don't book another guest, Allison. Whatever you do, don't do it. Leave him time for the dance party.
We'll see. It depends if I can get the floor. I only can dance on a certain type of mahogany.
The floor is yours.
Right. Bill Bratton's going to be joining us about the whole Guthrie case.
He's a good dancer.
Emily Austin will break down what's happening in the media, including David Axelrod saying that Obamacare is too expensive.
Huh,
really?
Imagine that. I noticed that the last big shutdown that we had last fall was over the ACA subsidies, and the Senate's done nothing. The House has done nothing on those. So that situation that was life or death is still pending.
Yeah, we're over that. Now we got to get the mask off.
We got a new shutdown fight,
Yeah, we got to get the mask off ICE agents. The Gestapo. You must remember them.
I've heard. Okay, I'll see you
Fox
Sunday.
News Sunday everywhere, and then, of course, on the channel right after the network. Don't move. Brian Kilmeade Show.
People say to me all the time, oh, you're, Republican and right-leaning. I go, listen, I don't own a gun. I'm not religious at all. I'm for abortion and pot smoking and everything. How right can I be?
You've put your finger on the thing that makes me so incensed about the woke and the far left. We need no further credentials to let you know that we are certainly not conservatives, we're not right-wingers, we're not whatever you think, and yet it's never enough for them. It's never enough that we're just not willing to go along with your insanity. That doesn't make us conservatives.
So Bill Maher having a great conversation with Adam Carolla, who's good friends with Jimmy Kimmel, and you cannot get more left than Jimmy Kimmel. And, Adam Carolla just running through, he's conservative on fiscal issues. He's a guy who came from a broken home, not much money, learns to work with his hands, working his way up, was a boxing coach, was a carpenter, then started doing some radio things and started being started breaking through on radio. How he got into it, I used to know. I kind of forgot his bio a little bit, but that's when he hired Jimmy Kimmel, I think, to do sports. And he started because he's hysterical and he's funny and he's smart and he knew the issues. He was a staple in Los Angeles radio. Worked his way on stage doing stand-up. Had his own man show for a while. Had Catch a Contractor for a while. But he's extremely successful. He's one of the first podcasters, a real pioneer in the whole industry. On Club Random, he continued, Bill Maher also spoke about the left and how he is on the left, but doesn't like the way they're acting. Cut 40.
They are very exclusionary. Yes. They really just don't want to breathe the same air if you're not exactly with the groupthink. Yes, which is, while they're not that bright. Jimmy Kimmel, he's very mad at me. This is the difference between the right and the left. It bugs me so much. My tribe is supposed to be the left, but these are the people who just can't talk to you unless you're exactly there.
Yeah, and that's why his show is the most interesting, but he says, and he's right, Bill Maher, that he's never going to get another Emmy. He's never going to be invited to all those clubs. He says guys like Jimmy Kimmel think he's a sellout. But if you listen to his show, I think it was last weekend that he just ripped Donald Trump the entire time. And Donald Trump gets so angry because why did I invite him to the White House? Well, that's where he's going to be. He's just going to call it as he sees it. It's kind of a big turn, but I want to get into it. In Venezuela, Delcy Rodriguez, the former vice president, now the acting president of Venezuela, who's really worked well with President Trump, with Marco Rubio, and now Chris Wright, who is the Secretary of Energy, who was there yesterday, the highest-ranking American to go visit her, sat down with Kristen Welker of Meet the Press. And publicly, she's not saying the right things, but privately, she's acting the right way and releasing political prisoners. The hope is within a year, they get elections and she's out because she's got a dicey track record and has no sense she wants a democracy there. Here she is talking to Kristen Welker. You'll be surprised by this answer about Maduro. Cut 36.
Do you see Nicolas Maduro as the legitimate leader of Venezuela?
Sí, sin duda alguna. So yes, I can tell you that President Nicolás Maduro is the legitimate president.
They are both, President Maduro and Celia Flores, the First Lady, are both innocent.
Yeah. Innocent of what? Are you kidding? Destroying a country? Guilty as charged. He's sitting in a Brooklyn prison. She's in charge and evidently doing the right thing. They're trying to revamp their energy industry, and there's going to be people in charge there. So far, so good. And the president's starting to help sell their oil at legitimate market prices while also stopping the ghost ships. Here's the big test. In Cuba, the Russians are coming with oil. Are we going to stop the Russians from delivering oil to Cuba? Well, you have a lot. If you want to win over, and I know the president's going to do well in Florida, but if you want to make sure the Cuban community's happy forever and maybe always voting to the right forever, you make sure you're the first president to take on the communists in the Caribbean and oust them. Raul Castro, what's left of him, he's going to die soon, and the current president destroyed the country. They are suffering economically, and then the president says, I could be the one to break Cuba, and he should. Tyrus next. We are back, and one thing when we book Tyrus, he will say to you, I want to talk about the economy and I want numbers. Yeah. I want graphs, I want pie charts, I want numbers. So here's, the president took in $217 billion in tariff revenue in 25. Right. You know how much? Biden took in 88. Okay. So look at this, Tyrus, and tell me what it means to you. Real wages are up 0.4%. Prices went up only 0.2%. That's what people say. You feel it when wages go up faster than inflation. We have core inflation, the lowest. This just came in since March of 2021, and overall inflation dropped to 2.4% from 2.7%. That's an 8-month low. And as I mentioned, prices are up 0.2%. Gas is down 7.5%. At what point do we admit that things are better? Like every time you see a poll, only 36% of the country think the economy is good. What is it going to take?
Well, I think at some point we have to realize that polls are not accurate at all, because the people who are answering them aren't seeing what's going on. I mean, that's obviously what's
or they're
happening.
So partisan they don't want to say it.
They just know what to say, or it's the safe answer. Oh, I hate the economy. But of course, everyone's feeling it positively. And the thing I think the reason why we know it is because of all the extracurricular activities by the left and the media. They are taking every opportunity to talk about anything else but the economy. And they want to use, what's the fancy new word they invented? Affordability. Well, we've created affordable. America's becoming affordable ahead of schedule. President Trump, I think, modestly said it was going to take them maybe 3 to 4 years to make the correction. And now we're seeing it in less than a year that we're seeing the correction. So the people on TV who have their talking points or whatever aren't being honest. Everyone feels a little better. You don't see the tension. People are out. You see
the
tax
job numbers?
season. People
the job numbers too last
job numbers were insane. I mean, forget partisanship, parties or whatever. Regular, everyday Joe. That was a great report. Seeing the fact that we up 2% across the board, the cost of living is a 2% increase for us in the good stuff, which is an incredible number. These are numbers that probably we haven't seen probably since Bill Clinton when he got everybody a refund. We're starting to see these type of positive numbers. And of course, it's the last thing the media wants to talk about. Well,
at one point they got to talk about something. So here's what's interesting. That's what I think this shutdown's about. You have 200,000 people. They're going to be told they're not getting paychecks in the Department of Homeland Security, right? Right. And that includes the Coast Guard. That includes the TSA. That includes the Secret Service. You guys, you're part of Homeland Security. We're going to not fund it. Okay. So you're not going to fund it. ICE, even though it's funded in 2029, everything goes on hold. No one gets paychecks. What happened in the fall with 43-day shutdown? Trump said, hey, we got through it. Bottom line is his economy suffered. Yep. And that's why they were able to say, look at your numbers. You haven't turned the country around. Well, you shut it down.
Exactly.
But it was 50-50, equal blame. But it's the president's economy. This is his way. This is the Democrats' way of hurting the economy.
Well, it's all costs. Gloves are off the table. They will do anything, legal, illegal, whatever they can to derail this presidency. And that has been the agenda. I mean, they have been committed to this for over a decade. So they're not going to stop. But I think their influence is a lot less than it used to be. I think people now, when they hear them, they just kind of roll their eyes. I don't think they're getting the reaction because we're seeing everyone's going on vacations again. Everyone's excited about everyone's, you see flowers, everyone's buying stuff for Valentine's. People across the board, you're not seeing everyone holding their wallets. I think people are feeling good. There's a lot of opportunity out there right now in this country, and unfortunately, it's not being celebrated by mainstream media. But I think everyday Americans are celebrating.
So listen to Chris Murphy, one of the most partisan people. Just everything's negative, everything's a problem, everything's criminal. They had a chance just to extend for 2 weeks while they continue to negotiate. Cut 23.
The lack of seriousness from the White House and from Republicans not getting language until last night has put us in the position we are in today.
They had a 20-point punch list on things they wanted to change about ICE, some of which will never, ever see light of day. But if you see Minneapolis, the president, you could honestly say, Democrats, because of your pressure, Tom Homan's moving people out. You could say, we have a de-escalate. You could say the roving patrols. You could say they've agreed to body cameras. You could say that they pledge a different communication with every city they go into. There's certain things that Tom Homan wanted to do before Democrats wanted to do, that Kristi Noem and Bravino wanted no part of. So this is the easiest one for Democrats to high five and say, we made progress.
But that's the point. That means you would have to be, progress means cooperation. And then it's not, and here's the thing, these are not issues that they really care about. These are distracting issues. These are what takes the focus of what's going on. So when the president or the administration steps in and says, okay, we're going to do this and we're going to do this and give you concessions, and because they got cooperation from Minneapolis law enforcement, they're pulling out. So they're pulling everything out. So you would think that would bring them to the table.
Yeah.
But that's not, no, they're like, no, but you didn't do this. But you didn't do this. So there's absolutely no pleasing, because the agenda was never about what their virtuous issue was at the time. It's about derailing President Trump.
So a couple of things. You saw Keith Ellison yesterday on Capitol Hill?
Yeah.
Some of the sparring that went on with Josh Hawley. I love that Josh Hawley was researched, ready to go, good lawyer, sharp thinker. But I just wish he would let these guys answer the question, especially because I want to know the answer. Listen to this exchange. See if you agree. Cut 25.
Why'd you take their money?
I didn't.
You took $10,000.
No, that's a false statement.
$10,000 9 days after the meeting.
False statement.
You took $10,000. Here's what happened. They went to your office.
They
solicited money from you. They solicited help from you.
That's also wrong.
They came to your office. It was your official office. You met with them for 54 minutes.
No, they didn't.
Asked you for help. You pledged it to them, and they talked repeatedly about money. In fact, it's all they talked about.
A lie.
Money, 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 money. They said, we will put our dollars in the right place.
Money. Sorry, that's an old wrestling song.
But you know Tyrus, he got caught on tape. This guy's this guy's dead to rights. That Feeding America plan, they came to him and they said, look, there's an investigation. Don't you worry about the investigation. I'll take care of you. Take care. He basically said it on tape.
Yes, he did.
So just say, you said this. What do you mean? You said this. What do you mean? Why? Let him answer the question.
I think the problem is that on both sides, Republicans and Democrats, these hearings have no meaning to anyone anymore, because it's about making a statement and a show opposed to actually, because ask that question, because here's the deal. If he doesn't answer, I think that's more damning.
And the body language.
Yeah, if you hit him with, you said this, I'll take care of it. What does that mean, sir? And then you have the time. He would, the silence would be deafening.
Yeah.
But the problem is we got to get our shots in, because then we're all talking about the next day. And I think across the board, he had a great line of questioning, but you are correct. Maybe pull one question out to get an answer, because that's what they want. They want the argument. They want the firing, and then eventually it'll be, because I'm black or I'm racist or you're calling me this. He's going to find eventually, if you keep arguing, they'll find that thing, the big distractor to boom. Oh, he's racist. And then the senators now, or the congressman and senators now defending whether they're racist or not. So I'm not surprised by this at all.
So Governor Westmore and Jared Polis, they said, the president said, I'll invite everyone except those two Democratic governors. You know what Westmore said? It's because I'm black.
Yeah, of course he did. But
are you kidding?
But if he would have said it's because I don't agree with his financial politics, we would be talking about it.
Right.
So they say it and everyone goes, oh, and then at this point, someone should say, how so? Please show me examples, since it's so prevalent. I mean,
outside the
guy's nickname's Hitler, so it should be pretty easy to show all these situations where your blackness is the reason why he had a problem with you being governor.
Right.
Because, somebody needs to call Jesse Jackson and make him return the money that President Trump put up for his presidential campaign. Like, it's funny how he's so racist, but yet he has a history of being the most non-racist person. Mm-hmm. So it's just it's laughable.
But see, he is so non-racist, he has no problem, like, for example, doing anything that in the past might get you so-called, air quotes, canceled. He doesn't care. He's like, that person's attacking me. I don't care if they're Indian.
Exactly.
I don't care if they're Russian. And just real quick, I want to finish this sparring. Senator Ron Johnson, another sharp guy, became a multimillionaire in plastics, decides to do exactly what the Founding Fathers had in mind. When you make your money, when you do your time, do this as service. He doesn't need the money. He just wants to make an impact. Listen to this, cut 27.
So now you're an ICE officer. You're doing enforcement action. You've got a team behind you trying to protect you. You've got all these trained activists behind you. Is it any wonder they're at hair trigger alert? A tragedy was going to happen, and you encouraged it. And you ought to feel damn guilty about it. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yeah, sit there and smirk. Smirk. It's sick. It is despicable.
Are you asking me for comment, Senator? Because everything you said was untrue. It was a nice theatrical performance, but it was all lies.
You get anything out of that?
Yeah, he got caught again.
Yeah, they were both
again,
doing it.
If you're going to call somebody a liar, lay it out. But again, and the whole thing, you're sick, you're this. When this is just me. If I'm in a leadership role, I maintain the leadership mentality. I don't yell and scream at somebody because that doesn't sound like leadership. Then you become a talking point. Then you become a blip. Your message is lost. He could have said those things and left his personal feelings out and let the people decide. And I think that's the problem. Everyone thinks they're personal. Like everyone wants to put their own accoutrement on, their own spices on every. Sometimes state what law you think they're broken or what you're accusing them of and leave the personal BS out of it.
Right. For example, Keith Ellison, what do you mean when you said this? When you told everyone to get in the streets and make some noise and do things? When you heard about that agent having his finger bitten off, do you feel responsible for that? When you found out that these protesters stormed the hotels where the ICE agents were saying, what was your statement of, were you upset by that? Was that a good move? What do you think? Yes or no? And then whatever he says, if he says, I was upset.
He's going to answer the same question. Yeah. Well, that's untrue. That's not our truth. Because that's all they know. He is the arrogance that he even went. Given the fact that it ain't like he's being accused, like he's literally verbally out his own mouth buried himself. And he's still willing to go up here because he knows that it's better for him with his base and on his side to get into arguments with Republicans on the Hill than actually that takes away from what they're actually doing. That helps the cover up.
The fraud. I mean, their fraud is absolutely horrendous.
It's horrendous. And I think it's one of many. I think we're going to see it in pretty much every sanctuary city. We're going to see a situation like this because it just doesn't make sense to me logically why you're championing to protect people who are coming into the country illegally and are unvetted. To me, that has nothing to do with Democrat or Republican. That's a family thing.
Can I just bring up, just a full circle before we take a break, is the other thing when you talk about quality of life. Can I buy a car? Can I buy a house? We keep hearing that, and I think those are great questions to ask. How about this? Do I feel safe? Did you see the numbers that came out on Wednesday on crime? In every state, crime has dropped. I mean, in New York, rape is up, but barely. For the other thing, violent crime has dropped across the country. Please don't say it's a coincidence that Donald Trump is president. You can't have it every other way.
No, the only coincidence is the border is secure. And it's amazing when the border is secure and when law enforcement is allowed to do their job, when the federal government is allowed to do their job and go out and look for these hardened criminals. It's amazing the ripple effect because you have safe streets again, because it's not just the boots on the ground. It's the idea that they can be on the ground, that they can come from you. There is we have instilled a little bit of fear in the criminal element in this country because for 4 years, they basically literally had a get out of jail free card.
So there's been a shakeup at HHS, Health and Human Services, as well as DHS. The White House seeks to tighten controls over HHS priorities with a bit of a shakeup, and it looks like there could be a DHS shakeup. Kristi Noem's at the top, but Tom Homan's the star.
Right.
And Tom Homan said, I don't want any job. I don't need the confirmations. I don't want to go through all my background. Just let me work. So he said borders are. but clearly there's nobody that could fill his shoes. He has to have an elevated position. And before we go, Tyrus, do you want to weigh in on that?
You know what? I think the one thing I do admire about this administration is that they are always willing to make a correction. The one thing about President Trump, if the job's not going the right way or he feels it needs it, he will make the move with unabashedly. Doesn't matter who it is, and I respect that. So at this point, I'm going to trust the process. Mm-hmm. And Homan's done a phenomenal job, but I also, and Nomes has done a good job. So, but I think we have leadership. We're in a different situation when this isn't DEI hires. So even if there's a major shakeup or somebody steps down and moves on,
it'll be
I think we'll be
merit
fine.
based.
Yeah, I think we'll be very based and very fine.
Back in a moment.
I'm told that I'm being flown out to Saudi Arabia to compete in a Fanatics flag football game with you.
I'm actually a little worried for you because
I know for me.
Well, you're a good athlete, but you're like
no.
These guys are another level.
I am the highest level. I am the level.
No, you're not the level.
I am the level.
You're a good athlete, but honestly, when I'm thinking of Saquon Barkley and I'm thinking of like
can Saquon
Odell
Barkley
Beckham and Justin Jefferson,
a flip off the top rope?
Have you not
a 180
seen him
moonsault
jump
off the top
over
rope
someone's head? It's cute. I love WWE. It's very cute. But honestly, this is like real football. This is real competition.
So Tom Brady and Logan Paul going at it in a fun, interesting way because they're going out to the Fanatics Flag Football Classic in Saudi Arabia in March. That was September. Brady announced he would be participating in the Flag Football Showcase with a lot of stars. Saquon's going to be there. CeeDee Lamb, Myles Garrett, among the players that are going to, they must be paying him a lot of money.
Yeah.
So what are your thoughts about that exchange?
I mean, it's just banter, it's
fun.
Yeah, Logan, he's going after the GOAT, talking about athleticism. Although, minus 5 points for Tom.
The WWE.
It's cute. But you know what? Some of that's on the current guys that are there. Maybe they're not. Maybe they are being too cute with more. They need to be a little more like Gunther and just start wrecking people.
Here's more.
I was an all-state linebacker. I rushed for 1,200 yards, 19 touchdowns my senior year.
Well, let's see what you can still bring it. I mean, look, we all had a great pass. I won 7 Super Bowl. Who don't get it? You know what matters? This game, March 21st in Saudi. I'm glad you're going to be there, and I'm glad you're finally going to participate in like a competition that matters.
This guy's insane. The audacity of Tom Brady. I can't believe it. Win 7 Super Bowls, thinks he can just go around and talk about his flag football game like it's going to be the Pro Bowl.
It's going to be way better than that.
What do you think, Tyrus?
I think anytime you start running off your stats and you're talking about high school with a Hall of Fame greatest of all time, you've lost. That was a horrible L. I'm surprised he went there. I'm disappointed that Logan went there.
You love football, right?
Yeah.
Best thing ever is flag football. And in the beginning, I thought, this is kind of an expedition to get something instead of a Pro Bowl. But now women are playing, and it's going to be an Olympic sport. And then they can convince Brady. I'm not sure they can, but that would also bring to the Olympics next year. Yeah, How great would that be?
Hey, you know what? And 7-time Super Bowl champion and gold medalist Tom Brady.
Yeah.
I'm on it. You know what? I will start snapping. I'd be the center for that team.
I mean, it's a little bit of a joke because at least in basketball with the Dream Team, the world played basketball.
Right.
The world doesn't play football, so this is going to be a joke. Someone can maybe Canada.
But they catch on. We caught on to soccer. You caught on to it, right?
But still, they can't break the Final Four.
Who knows?
Right. I'm hoping, but they never have.
Yeah, Canadians play football?
That's probably the silver. I mean, that's it, right?
Oh, bold statement.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you what. Tyrus, when can we see you again?
Monday.
And when do we check at your live shows?
At my linktree.com, Tyrus Smash.
Got it.